The two best origin movies for the biggest Marvel and DC characters go head-to-head. It's Spider-Man versus Batman Begins.
I'm Batman.
Let's talk about Bat Lawson.
Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul is easily one of the best bait-and-switch villains ever.
But is Ra's al Ghul immortal? Are his methods supernatural?
Or cheap parlor tricks to conceal your true identity, Ra's?
All the promotional material said that Ra's al Ghul would be played by Ken Watanabe.
That must be destroyed.
And while Watanabe wasn't as big then as he is now, he was still a known accomplished actor. Not Neeson's level, but not many are. So the idea that Watanabe would play the big bad in a Batman film seemed completely reasonable. But that was back before stuff like this was spoiled so generously. Did they seriously just show us Mystique's death in the last Dark Phoenix trailer? The MCU is the only one that seems to have any idea on how to stop too many leaks. They just add fake leaks and even fake trailer footage to make it tough to tell for sure what's real and what is fake. Anyways, not only was the reveal that Neeson was Al Ghul surprising, despite his late appearance in the movie, he works incredibly well. Neeson has a fantastic screen presence and the ability to add credibility to any role he's in. That's why he still works as an action star today at the age of 66.
If you're looking for ransom, I can tell you I don't have money. But what I do have are a very particular set of skills.
It also helps that he got a fair bit of screen time during Act 1. My biggest complaint is really just that he honestly isn't a fully developed character. He has no backstory, no reason for what he's doing besides some misguided idea of justice.
Gotham isn't beyond saving. Give me more time. There are good people here.
You are defending a city so corrupt we have infiltrated every level of its infrastructure.
I would call it insanity to genuinely think that an entire town is evil and not worth saving, but he doesn't act remotely insane. On the other side, we have Willem Dafoe as Norman Osborn, who is easily Spider-Man's most personal foe, the Green Goblin. Dafoe is a great actor, and he always gives a fantastic performance, and this one is no exception. My issue with the character are twofold. The first is his costume. To the movie's defense, the comic book version of the costume is pretty much unfilmable. His classic costume turns him into, for all intents and purposes, a goblin. The mask doesn't look at all like a mask, with moving eyes and mouth. However, you cannot have a mask work like that in the movies, even the fantastical world Raimi set up for Spider-Man. So instead, he gets a metal costume that has been criticized for looking like a Power Rangers costume accurately.
Mastodon!
Pterodactyl!
Triceratops!
Saber-tooth tiger!
Exceptional people.
Oh, that's not right. No.
Also, the fact that he just goes insane while comic book accurate is a lot less interesting than pretty much anything else they could have come up with. I have issues with both, and both could have been done better. I have to lean toward Ra's al Ghul, though. Osborn's costume just doesn't work, and his insanity while comic book accurate is just a lazy way for a writer to make someone a bad guy. Al Ghul could use more fleshing out, but I do feel like there's probably an interesting story there. Point for DC.
Well, you took my advice about theatricality a bit literally.
Spider-Man has Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane Watson, James Franco as Harry Osborn, Rosemary Harris as Aunt May, Cliff Robertson as Uncle Ben, and J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. Batman Begins has Michael Caine as Alfred Pennyworth, Katie Holmes as Rachel Dawes, Cillian Murphy as Scarecrow, Tom Wilkinson as Carmine Falcone, Rutger Hauer as Earl, Morgan Freeman as Lucius Fox, Gary Oldman as Jim Gordon. You may have noticed I've gone over the entire supporting cast list, yet haven't said anything about them. That's because comparing these two is brutal. They are very different sets of characters. Batman Begins gives us much more grounded, well-rounded characters that feel real. Spider-Man gives us surreal characters that work perfectly within the universe created for these movies. To break it down easier, let's look at the strongest and weakest links of the cast. The weakest links are the romantic interest, Kirsten Dunst and Katie Holmes. Dunst is a better actress than Holmes, but Holmes' character has a lot more meat to her, and she probably gives the best performance of her career here.
My parents deserve justice.
Well, you're not talking about justice, you're talking about revenge.
Sometimes they're the same.
No, they're never the same, Bruce.
Between these two, I have to give an edge to Holmes. Then we have the strongest links, J.K. Simmons versus Michael Caine, two of the best actors possibly ever. Frankly, Simmons' Jameson is perfect and impossible to replicate. I love how the character is fairly one-dimensional. Then we see him in a life-threatening situation, literally lie and risk his own life to protect Peter Parker.
Who's the photographer who takes the pictures of Spider-Man?
I don't know who he is. His stuff comes in the mail.
You're lying!
I swear.
A kid he has shown no respect for.
They're crap. Mega crap.
But Alfred has a substantially bigger and more important role. So while Simmons does a better job, Caine carries much more of the movie. Both the casts are so good, and I hate picking one over the other, but ties would defeat the purpose of this series, so I have to give the win to DC.
You still haven't given up on me.
Never.
Batman Begins is largely about the difference that one person can make.
I'm going to show the people of Gotham their city doesn't belong to the criminals and the corrupt.
In the Depression, your father nearly bankrupted Wayne Enterprises combating poverty.
You just have to have the bravery to stand apart from everyone else.
But the city's been suffering. People less fortunate than us have been enduring very hard times. So we built a new, cheap public transportation system to unite the city.
And also the bravery to call upon your friends when needed.
Who are you? Watch for my sign. You're just one man? Now we're two.
One thing I noticed with this movie is that the realism that was touted throughout this trilogy is only kind of there. The characters feel real and are well developed, but the League of Shadows' plan to destroy Gotham feels straight from a comic book. They dump a ton of toxins into the water, but they are toxins that must be inhaled and cannot be simply drunk. Then they steal a super microwave from Wayne Tech to evaporate the city's water supply, and that's some crazy shit. Add to it, the movie inserts some of the most jarring exposition scenes at random into the movie. We get this scene where Earl is told about the super microwave being stolen.
The damage to the ship was catastrophic. The weapon itself is,
Missing?
yeah.
Then we get this scene where Lucius finds out that it's stolen.
It's a microwave emitter. It was designed to vaporize an enemy's water supply.
I want all the information on the development of this project. All data, files, backup disks on my desk right away.
Did you lose one?
Then we get this scene where Lucius tells Bruce Wayne about it.
One supply won't help you disperse an inhaler unless you have a microwave emitter powerful enough to vaporize all the water in the mains. A microwave emitter like the one Wayne Enterprises just misplaced.
Why did we need 3 scenes relaying this information to us? Surely cutting that first scene would have left enough for us to get by. Spider-Man deals a lot with duality. Peter must deal with having a personal life outside being Spider-Man, while also being Spider-Man and saving the day. Norman deals with it more directly. He has split personalities for a while. One is the still sane Norman Osborn, and another as the completely insane Green Goblin. How these characters deal with their split dual identities is what makes them different. The Green Goblin begins to override Norman's life as Norman's life falls apart. Peter learned very early on that using Spider-Man for personal gain leads to unforeseen and possibly devastating consequences, and decides early that Spider-Man will be used only for good and never for personal gain. Norman never learns that lesson and allows Goblin free reign to murder. Both movies feel the need to do flashbacks to remind the audience of things that happened earlier in the movie. I hate this, but at least Batman Begins does it in the end to remind us of the beginning. Spider-Man does it right up front in the middle of the origin. I have issues with both, but overall, story-wise, Spider-Man works better and fits the tone of the movie much more naturally. Batman Begins can get very clunky with its storytelling.
Blowing all the pipes. And if that pressure reaches us, the water supply right across the whole city is gonna blow.
Point for Marvel.
But just because you can beat him up doesn't give you the right to. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
Spider-Man has some fast and exciting action. Sure, when it relies on CGI, you can see the weaknesses of the time, but overall, it works quite well. The highlight is the final battle between Peter and Norman in the ruin of the building. It shows part of why Spider-Man is such a cool character. He frequently fights villains who are more powerful than he is. Hell, that's all Venom is, a more powerful version of Spider-Man. The difference is Peter. Either through his determination or intelligence, or a mixture of the two, he doesn't allow himself to lose. Here, it's his determination. Green Goblin has him beaten until until Peter decides he's unwilling to lose. Once that happens, it's all over for Norman. The Christopher Nolan Batman movies have been criticized for having bad action. He got better with later entries, but the sloppy, quick-cut action editing is all on display here. Half the time it's impossible to tell what is happening, sometimes it's borderline unwatchable. This is an easy point for Marvel.
Peter, stop!
Batman Begins has some fantastic visual moments. The bit with the bats in the stairwell is iconic. Nolan has a clear preference for practical effects, giving all the stuff in Batman Begins a grounding. It looks quite real. This is a rough one for Spider-Man. When I covered Spider-Man 3, I did give the dated special effects a pass because at the time of release, they didn't bother me. The computer effects in Spider-Man are groundbreaking and the beginning of what computer effects would eventually become, but it's also in the rough period where they don't have it fully down yet. And unlike Spider-Man 3, I do remember seeing a lot of it at the time of its release in the theater. While it is more groundbreaking and influential than what we see in Spider-Man 3, it's also extremely dated and didn't even look very good at the time it was made. It'd be easy to stop there and give the point to DC. That'd be ignoring the Raimi visual flair. Raimi has unique camera motions and positions that are common in all his movies and make his movies instantly recognizable as his. It's something Nolan simply does not have. The reason why the effects in Spider-Man are iffy is because Raimi is pushing what the visuals can do in his movie past their limits, which provides a clear way to distinguish these two directors from each other visually. Nolan effectively uses visuals while Raimi pushes visuals in new directions. Despite the effects issues, this is a definite point for Marvel. Spider-Man has a score by Danny Elfman, which includes some of his best work outside the Tim Burton Batman movies. He is a fantastic composer that manages to make a new iconic superhero theme for Spider-Man, and it's easily one of Elfman's best. Hans Zimmer did the score for Batman Begins, and it's again another iconic Zimmer score. It's instantly recognizable. This is a very tight match. Elfman's score has more character, while Zimmer's score has more impact. This is close, but Zimmer's score is just a bit more memorable, so I have to give the point to DC. The hero is the key to both these movies. It's easy to make the villain the dominant force in your movie. They are typically flashier and more fun. The 4 previous Batman movies are very focused on the villains to the detriment of Batman. Batman Begins was the first live-action movie to put the focus on the Caped Crusader himself. While the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy has plenty of classic villains, Spider-Man was always the focus of the entire trilogy. Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man perhaps gets the very best film origin in the history of the genre. What director Sam Raimi and screenwriter David Koepp do is take the classic origin and condense it into a much simpler form. In the comic book, he gets a TV show and even has issues cashing a check because he insists on not revealing his identity, and Peter gets a check listing his name as Spider-Man, and since he has no IDs with that name, he cannot cash it, and it's silly and stupid. What this movie did was take all the core ideas and morals of his origin and make it just that, giving us just enough of his irresponsibility to sell the scene while allowing the audience to be sympathetic to the character. Christian Bale's Batman gives his best performance to the entire trilogy in this film. His Batman voice is far less bothersome in this movie.
Falcone sent them to kill you.
Why?
You rattled his cage.
And he actually remembers to close his mouth when he's in the suit. He spends Act 1 as a delusioned wanderer, wanting to find his way in the world. He thinks he finds it with the League of Shadows, but a key difference forever makes them enemies. Batman has decided he will follow the path of the League of Shadows with one vital difference. He will not kill. There are plenty of arguments pointing out that Batman does kill in these movies. Zack Snyder uses it as an excuse for why his Batman kills.
I want to know why you decided to allow Batman to kill within this picture.
You know, I tried to do it in that sort of technical way, right? There's a great YouTube video that shows all the kills in the Christopher Nolan movies. I tried to do it like by proxy. You'd shoot the car that they're in, the car would blow up, or the grenade would go off in the guy's hand or whatever.
A key thing to remember is that while Snyder claims his Batman only kills by proxy, he is wrong. Nolan's Batman kills by proxy. When Batman shoots you with a gun, that's not death by proxy, that's being shot and murdered. When you are in a building that is on fire trying to kill someone and that person does not save you from the fire, that's death by proxy. But I digress. These are two fantastic origin stories. In fact, throw in Iron Man and we probably have the 3 all-time greatest comic book origin movies. The only real question is, which is the better of these two heroes? Both heroes lose something when they wear their costume, but out of the costume they are amazing. It's very close, but I have to give this to Spider-Man. It's just such a great origin that pays homage to the original comic book while also doing its own thing. Batman's origin seems very grounded, but too many elements are too fantastical to really work in the ground world made for that movie. The world made for Spider-Man makes the fantastical elements work all that much better. Point for Marvel. These are two fantastic movies that time has been really good to. Spider-Man has some issues, mostly with the date effects and this joke.
That's a cute outfit. Did your husband give it to you?
But overall, by making this a unique, different universe, Raimi gave the original Spider-Man trilogy something special. I went into this assuming this would be another win for the Nolan trilogy. I love those movies, but they do have inconsistencies that hold them back. The Raimi trilogy has issues as well, but proves to be much more creative and willing to take chances rather than just relay the story through constant and often unnecessary exposition dumps. It's a shame Spider-Man 3 has so many issues because the first 2 in his trilogy were so amazing.
I tried to do it like by proxy. You shoot the car that they're in, the car blow up.
I don't think it means what you think it means.
Hey, if you like this video, please make sure to hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe. That helps me out a lot. And if you really love this video, consider visiting my Patreon page.